2020 has really made us rethink how we communicate, and as we inch closer to the end of the year and the holidays, it's a good, reminder to get to talk about which topics that we should discuss and ones we should stay away from. So joining me live is Jamie Miller, author of The Art of Conscious Communication. I want to start with a quote from your book because you say, whoever asks the questions leads the conversations, right? Okay, so when it comes to elections news, recounts, claims of voter fraud, how do you lead that convo so it doesn't end up blowing up?
Wow, Jasmine. Okay, so you went straight for the jugular. I appreciate that. Yes, indeed. The key to having successful conversations out there is it's an unbreakable formula. Whoever does ask the questions wins the conversations. You just ask me a question, meaning you get to control which direction this conversation goes. If I pose the question back to you, I'm then taking control of it. And the interesting thing is, obviously, with post-election, I'm sure a lot of people agree with me out there. We've got two very, very different beliefs potentially between individuals out there. You've got families who are going to be getting together for Thanksgiving where you don't know if they're in agreement. And I would say that if you are someone where you want to be more conscious about your dialogue and get someone on board with your thought processes, the best thing that you can do is not tell them where you think they're wrong, not tell them where you think they're right, or you're right, I should say, yet pose a question to them that gets them to answer in a specific fashion that you want them to answer. Does that make sense, Jasmine, or does it need a little bit more elaboration for you?
If you had an example, I think it would help everybody at home.
Okay, great. So let's say, regardless of who wins, and let's see if I actually pose this question to you, Jasmine, and see how you would respond to it so that the listeners and audience can see how this works. Jasmine, would you agree with me that regardless who gets into the White House, right, would you say that we are indeed, our thoughts become things, and would you agree with the fact that we should still be able to manifest the lives that we want for ourselves and our families personally, regardless who's sitting in office? Would that be something you would agree with, Jasmine?
Yeah, you have a lot of personal power, so sure.
Okay, so what I did there is I posed a leading question that builds some agreement between the two, so that even if someone wanted Trump to get in and he didn't, you're now getting them on a pathway. They're like, you know what? It doesn't matter who's in office. I'm still going to create the lifestyle by design. Would you also agree that it's not a good way to live your life and what you want to create for your families based on purely victimizing yourself based on who lives in a house in this country? Well, that would be a very limited way to look at life. Correct, Jasmine?
I see where you're going here. For the interest of time, I do want to ask you about this as well, because a lot of people have been spending way more time with their families just the whole year. How do you communicate when maybe you need a little bit of space? I've seen you a lot.
Okay, so there has to be consistency. So and again, I always believe that it's always more sophisticated when you get it to be the other person's idea. For anyone like me out there watching this, where you've got kids, you might want your kids to clean their rooms, all right, make their beds. Yet they don't want to be told to go and do that. So an example of the way that I structure it in a predictable outcome is you'll probably notice I've got pictures that my kids draw here. I've got two beautiful kids. I would say that I would ask them a question: kids, do you like it when daddy's happy? And thankfully at this stage in life, they say yes. And then I say, well, what is something around the house that you think you could be doing that would make dad happy? And then they say, cleaning our rooms, making our beds. And then I end with this dialogue: I agree with you. All right. So when it comes to when parents are working at home, my kids, they know when they're at school, but yet when they're at home with me and I'm doing a Zoom training for clients, they know to go to separate parts of the house so that I can actually concentrate on my work. And the conversation could go along the lines of, if you were me, kids, and you were teaching and people were compensating you for your services, would you want to be able to focus full attention to that individual if you were getting paid? And they say yes. Okay, so what are some things that you think you could do whilst dad is doing virtual training? What are some things that you think you could be doing around the house to help that situation? And then what you want them to do is come up with answers like being quiet, doing different things. If you don't hear the answer that you want, you'll just say, what about when it comes to your devices? What are your thoughts on that? And then they will share the answers. And again, the idea is to be very consistent with this behavior, Jasmine, which is not always easy. Yet if you are if you are consistent throughout the life from a kid before they become a teenager, and you're proactive rather than, well, let me ask you, is it better to be proactive than reactive?
I think we would agree that it's better to be proactive. And I also think that people can learn a lot from you. I know we need to wrap now, but where can people go to find more tips and advice on communicating?
Sincerely, my best form of people reaching out to me is actually, I would say, my cell phone, Jasmine. However, people can go to artofconsciouscommunication.com. I wouldn't say it's the most phenomenal website on the planet if they wanted to start. And I've got an email, jamie@artofconsciouscommunication.
Okay.
If I could give my cell phone as a wrap up, I'm happy to do so for those people where they need help in that area.
I'm going to say that everyone take your email.
Okay.
Don't give your phone number out on TV.
Oh, on the air. Okay. No, that's fair enough. So it's Jamie, JAMIE, at artofconsciouscommunication.com.
Jamie, thank you so much. This has been phenomenal. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Jasmine. Appreciate you. Cheers. Thanks.
All right. It is 9.